In this video we will show you how to subset data. And what's that? Well, let's say we have the age variable here and we just take the average age in the data. So we take mean and then we take data and we choose the age column in that data. If we run this, we get the average age in the data. But if we want the age of males and females separately, we want to subset the data into two groups. So how do we subset the data? We want something else here. So let me show you 3 ways how to do this. First of all, we can take our data and we can use brackets and with a comma. And on the left hand side of the comma are the rows and the right hand side of the comma are the columns of the data. So let's say we want a subset which is the first row of the data. Then we can run and we get the first row of the data. And we can take the first row and the first column of the data, or just the first column, for example. Okay, so this is a neat way to subset, a standard way to subset data in R. But we wanted all the rows and divide it depending on gender. So we take rows here, and for the rows we use data and the gender column, and we want that to be equal to female, for example. What happens? We get all the females in the data. So those are filtered out, 151 rows, 151 females that is. Okay, and we could do the same for males. Right? And let's store these subsets of the data. Let's call this F data, like female data, and M data, as in male data. Okay, and if we run this, then we can see here in the environment, we have stored the whole data and these two subsets of data. Now we can calculate the mean of F data, and we take column age, for example. And let's do the same thing for males, so M data, and also the column age. Now we get the average age of these subgroups. Another way of doing the same thing is using the by function. And we want to still take the whole data, and we want to calculate something for the variable age. And we want to divide this data with the variable gender. So this is our filter, so to speak. And we want to apply a function, the mean function, to this age. So we calculate the mean for age, and we have subgroups. We get the same answer, but in a different format. The output is in a list here instead. And these lists, well, can be a little bit tricky to get into a neat table. So I'm going to show you a third way to do this subsetting. We can use a package called dplyr. So please load the package first, this one. Okay, and then you will do this. You can take your data and you use an operator that looks like this, percentage and arrow percentage. That means that you apply something to the data. You can apply a function called group by, which is really neat. and we group by a variable that is contained in the data. So we have a variable called gender in our data. So we can just write gender here. Now this will divide the data into two groups. And what do we want to do then? We want to apply something more to this. We want to apply some functions. So let's use something called summarize. And within this summarize function, you can define what you want to calculate. For example, the mean of age. Now we should get something. And let's see. Yes, we got a nice table with the subgroups and the means of these subgroups. And the neat thing with this method is that you can add more functions here. You could add standard deviation of age, for example. And if we run, we get another column here. So you can just add more functions here. And you can give them names also. You can name this column mean, like that. And this you could name standard deviation, like this. Right? And if we run it, okay, we get names for the columns also. And that's pretty neat. And you can, of course, put it like that in a nice order list, like that, if you want. And you could even apply some nice formats to this table. So let's apply something more. And since we have loaded the cable extra package, we can use cable for this. So if we would run this, we would get a table and with new formats, because we have this table already, and just apply this cable feature to it. But let's add also a nice format. One of them is called simple. Let's use that. And we should get something if we run this. And running this in RStudio maybe doesn't look as pretty, but we can see that some formats has been added. The neat thing is when you knit this, if we knit this, then we should get a table which looks pretty neat. And maybe, yeah, the table doesn't say that this is the age variable, so maybe we could add a caption to it. So we can add a caption, and we can call this caption age. Right. And let's see what happens when we knit. All right, we get a neat table for age, and we have the mean and standard deviation for two different groups.